Hello, this is a book review for The One Thing, Chapter 1. What this chapter tells us to do is to focus on one thing at a time so that you can get better results in both your personal and professional life. It also tells us that the amount of success you have is determined by how much focus you put into that one thing. One thing is your goal, the one thing you want to do, the thing you want to achieve. That's what the one thing is. The last thing is you only have so much time and energy. So don't spread yourself out too thin. Focus on one thing at a time so you can get better results. And that's all for Chapter 1 of The One Thing. Chapter 2 talks about put all your energy into accomplishing the most important thing to you, and it will create a domino effect in your life. Basically meaning if you get this one thing out of the way, you'll get to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Hence the domino effect. Over time, the little things will add up to a bigger and bigger thing. One thing at a time. That's all for Chapter 2. This is a review of Chapter 3 of The One Thing. Successful businesses continually ask themselves, what is our one thing? It has to evolve in response to competition, technology, and consumer demand. No one succeeds totally alone. Those who achieve exceptional success can cite one person who made the difference by pointing them in the right direction. And that's all for Chapter 3. Hello, this is Chapter 4 of The One Thing. It talks about equality and how it's not real. Equality is a lie. Understanding that is the basis of all great decisions. When everything feels urgent, important, then everything is equally important. You have to have something more important or prioritize one task over another in order to be more efficient when working on your one thing. And that is all for Chapter 4. Hello, and this is Chapter 5 of The One Thing. Chapter 5 talks about not do two things at the same time because it is the same as doing nothing. Because in reality, if you don't focus your attention to one thing at a time, you do two things at a time that come out often incomplete. So you accomplish nothing. Our brains aren't very capable of working at two things at a time either. So work on one thing at a time and what's most important first. That is all for Chapter 5. Hello, and this is Chapter 6 of The One Thing. Chapter 6 talks about discipline. You do not need more discipline than you already have. The key to success is doing the right thing and creating good habits for yourself in order to do the right thing. Like being active outside or focusing on your one thing. Accomplishing tasks in order instead of doing them at the same time. Things like that are good habits you can develop so that you can chase after your one thing. That's all for Chapter 6. Hello, this is a video review for Chapter 7 of The One Thing. Chapter 7 talks about people tie willpower to success. It sets them up for failure. Willpower cannot be activated whenever you want it because it's limited, similar to your phone battery. Your phone battery starts off with 100%, and over time as you use it, it discharges to 0. Same thing can be said about willpower pretty much. You can recharge your willpower, like your phone battery, with foods that raise your blood sugar and carbohydrates and proteins. Healthy and also exercise. You can charge up your willpower. That is all for Chapter 7. Hello, this is a review for Chapter 8 of The One Thing. In Chapter 8, Gary Keller wants you to challenge the concept of a balanced life. A balanced life is not a goal you obtain in the future. It's something you strive and work on constantly in the now, in the present to achieve. Purpose, meaning, and significance, though, is what makes a person successful, not a balanced life. The big unexpected moments in life are sometimes the best ones, or the worst, depending on what happens. But a balanced life would mean to live somewhere in the middle, in the gray area. That's all for Chapter 8. Hello, and this is a review for Chapter 9 of The One Thing. When human beings think that thinking big is bad, they stay thinking small. And progress in society gets slowed down because people underestimate themselves or think their goal is too big to achieve. But the point is, you can either think big and empower yourself, or you can think small and restrict yourself. That's all for Chapter 9. This is my review for Chapter 10 of The One Thing book. It talks about asking good questions and how the quality of the questions that you ask will be the same quality of answer that you receive. Life itself is a question too. It's the way you live your life, whether it's working hard or having your leisure time. That is the answer, because it's the way you live your life. And when you're by yourself, ask yourself a big picture question, or what do I want to do 5 years from now? It's also important to ask yourself the little questions like, what tasks do I need to perform right now? I just got out of bed, or before I go to work. Ask good questions, because the quality of the questions you ask are the same quality of answers you will receive. This is my review of Chapter 11 of The One Thing. Chapter 11, Success Habit, further expands on Chapter 10, the focusing question. The focusing question, as explained by Chapter 11, is the most important habit you can have. By asking, can improve your quality of life. By simply asking, what's the one thing and you can fill in the blank for what your personal question is. What is the one thing I can do to help others? What is the one thing I can do to achieve my goals? You can use this question for many types of things in your life, whether it is spiritual, work, or even your personal leisure time. Like, what can I do to make this more fun? All for Chapter 11. Hello, this is a book review for The One Thing, Chapter 12. Chapter 12 is a continuation of the previous two chapters, 10 and 11, all talking about a focusing question and asking good questions to receive good answers. Now, there are 4 questions that Chapter 12 talks about you asking others or asking yourself. And these are the 4 types of questions: big and specific, big and broad,
small and specific, small and broad. For big and specific, number 1, an example can be, what can I do to double my sales in 6 months? The second one, big and broad, says, what can I do to double sales? Notice how the first one was more specific about the time frame and when they would double their sales. The other 2 questions are small and specific and small and broad. What can I do to increase in sales? Small and specific one. What can I do to increase sales by 5% this year? You can ask these types of questions to get a bigger outlook on your life or in the present. Ask around better questions and you can get better answers. This is a review of the book The One Thing, Chapter 13. Chapter 13 uses the story A Christmas Carol about Scrooge, who is visited by 3 spirits, spirit of the past, present, and the future, in order to learn about happiness and also to learn to care for other people. It uses this story to teach us that we should be happy regardless of our circumstances, and it also tells us that our circumstances affect us based on how we interpret them. So if we interpret our bad circumstances in a different way, we can probably overcome them easier. Or just have a better mindset about life. The last thing it talks about is when you understand your purpose, you see your life with more clarity. You're able to chase after your goals because you know what you're going after. You know what you're fighting for. And when you do know what you're fighting for, you're not lost and you're able to get to where you want in life. That's all for chapter 13. This is a review for chapter 14 of The One Thing. This chapter talks about purpose and goals. The thing about purpose is you cannot really achieve your purpose or your main goal if you do not have a plan. Always have a plan with your purpose, or else there's no point in going after it. The other thing is you should put off leisure activities or any quick cash gigs that you're trying to do now, and instead focus on the long-term cash, long-term goal that will benefit you much more in the future than just taking a little bit now. And that's my review for chapter 14. Thank you. This is a review for The One Thing, chapter 15. And this chapter talks about productivity and how you can use time blocking to do your tasks quicker and also to get to that one thing quicker, or to even achieve the one thing. Time blocking is really just a way of focusing on your one task that you're trying to complete. By taking out all the other stuff and not paying attention to it, just focusing on your one task, it's easier to get it done without having to worry about all the other tasks, like getting them done one at a time. This is all for chapter 15. This is a review of chapter 16 of The One Thing. This chapter talks about 3 things to master. These 3 things can help you create a good mindset and help you with your character when it comes to completing tasks. The first thing is to create a mindset of seeking mastery. When you create a mindset of seeking mastery,
Always think when you're doing your task that you're mastering it. That when you're getting your stuff done. That way it can help encourage you to even do more, to finish more, to even do that one thing. The second thing is find the best way to accomplish your tasks, to do stuff you gotta do. Find the smartest way to do it. Maybe one that doesn't involve too much of a heavy amount of work. Or maybe one that involves a better plan. And the third thing is have the strength and character to admit when you're in the wrong. Hold yourself accountable when you mess up. And that is all for chapter 16. This is chapter 17 of The One Thing. This chapter talks about the 4 thieves of productivity. These 4 thieves are the inability to say no, the fear of chaos, poor health habits, and then the last one is the environment doesn't support your goals. About the first one, once you say yes to a responsibility or to your one thing, say no to anything else that could be a distraction, because once you accept that responsibility, you shouldn't let anything get in the way of it. Number 2, fear of chaos. When you're singling out your one thing, sometimes you just have to put everything else to the side, including maybe cleaning up after your day-to-day mess, your office clutter. Don't be afraid of the mess and just focus on your one thing. Don't let other things distract you from it. Devote all your attention to it. Now the third thing is poor health habits. Eating unhealthy, lack of exercise, it's another thief to productivity. Because when you're not eating healthy or exercising, you're not all there exactly, or you're not full of energy or the energy that you can have when carrying out your daily tasks or focusing on that one thing. You need both the mental energy and your bodily energy to focus on it. And then for the very last thing, the environment doesn't support your goals. The environment in the book is the people you surround yourself around with. Surround yourself with people who are uplifting to your energy and to your ideas. People that motivate you and that encourage you to grow. And that's all for chapter 17.